Go Swartz Creek Dragons. I'm Jim Kitchen, Deputy Superintendent here in Swartz Creek.
And I'm Rodney Heatherton, Superintendent, Swartz Creek Community Schools.
We are privileged and proud to be able to come to you for this special podcast. But Rod, why are we here?
Why are we here? Well, we had a podcast 2 or 3 years ago that was up and running, and we decided to bring it back to you to give you a little bit of a taste of Swartz Creek Community Schools, as well as to talk about all those fun education topics for all of you learners out there.
All right, so let's kick it off here with our first question. You know, a big value in Swartz Creek is the idea of family and relationships. How has the focus on relationships impacted the school during the first marking period?
I think that anytime you look at research on relationships, it comes up as the number one item that you should be working on. So for the last 2 or 3 years, we've been talking to our teachers and our staff about building relationships. Put that content aside, because if you can get to know kids, if you can help them feel like they belong in the classroom, help them feel like they have a community within the building, and you work on that for 3 or 4 weeks, then when it gets to the end of the year and when you really want to dig into content, you know that you have a little bit of trust with your students because you've worked to get to know them, to get to understand them, and really just to walk in their shoes a little bit.
You know, as you talk about relationships, I'm reminded of the platform that we use called iWellness, and I know that you are familiar with this. iWellness is a new technology platform that we use to basically gauge how our students are doing. We're very interested in their mental well-being, as well as, you know, the academic piece that comes with it. But there's so many important pieces, and iWellness is a technology tool that really helps us. If you're not familiar with iWellness, it's basically a 7-question survey that we send out to our students every couple of weeks, and it's basically us reaching out to 1,000 students at once and saying, hey, how are you doing? Questions like, do you feel connected? Do you feel like there's an adult who cares about you in the building? Do you feel like your relationships are healthy? Now, this is important information that really helps us in building relationships with our students. And what are your thoughts, Rod, about the rollout of this during our first marking period?
Well, I'm excited. I charged the MTSS team a 1.5 years ago with we need to find a company that can really bring us some wellness data. If you're not familiar with MTSS, we've spent the last 15 years looking at academic data and behavioral data. Not once did we really dive into wellness data, like what is the state of being of our kids. And so I'm pretty excited that we finally settled on a product and started rolling it out at the high school and the middle school and getting ready to roll it out at both of our 3-5s. And it's really going to give us a dipstick into the culture and climate of the building on a daily basis and a weekly basis. It's pretty exciting. Jim, I know that you've had a couple anecdotal stories from when we were piloting last spring, and maybe without sharing any names, you could kind of just talk about the power of how we get to understand each student individually.
For sure. You know, a student that I hold in high esteem had an opportunity to look at, you know, his responses to some of the questions. And it just triggered for me to, hey, just go and say how you doing. And it opened up an opportunity to just connect. And that's really what this is all about. Just about saying, hey, how are you doing? And I love that piece of this. And also, we encourage all of our students, please take the survey. We really want this information. We want to be able to support you wherever you might be, whether it's an academic need that you might have or you're not feeling connected, and we all have those feelings. You know, there's always times when we're not feeling like we have the best connections at school. You don't have to just go through that. Let someone go through it with you and help you out. That's the whole purpose of this, and we want you to be well so that you can be the best you that you can be. And so with that, jump into our next item that we'd like to...
Well, before you jump into that next item, let's dig into that a little deeper. You know, I'm reminded of a social media post that I see all the time, and it says, be kind, because you don't know the struggle that other people are going through. And what Jim left out of that story was that this student is not someone you would think is struggling. And I think that often all of us, adults, kids, everyone I know, you just kind of make these assumptions about other people and whether they're well or not. Mm-hmm. And that's false, because everyone is dealing with something. And we could pretend that they're not, but we're all humans living a human experience. and we all have an environment that we survive in. And sometimes we're thriving, but sometimes we only look like we're thriving. And that's the beauty of iWellness, is it really sparses out whether you look like you're thriving or whether you really are thriving. And I think that, it speaks volumes about just trying to get to know kids and making sure they have a place to belong.
That's right. Great follow-up. So, our first and foremost purpose is safety, and it's the health and well-being of our students. And I do feel like iWellness helps us in that capacity. And since our main focus is all about students, let's get into our next piece here. Are there any highlights that you can think of that you'd like to share about student life?
Yeah, absolutely. And before you do that, I hope most of you are listening to this podcast in a car or, on your AirPods, because if you're watching it, you can see that I look really stiff. And Jim is like loosey-goosey. He talks with his hands. He looks like that famous country singer. And so I don't. So hopefully you're just listening to this. But if not, hey, he looks good. He sounds good. Maybe in a future podcast we could get him to sing,
Oh, wow.
Bring back some old musicals or something.
Very funny. Very good.
Okay. Yeah, we got a lot going on. I mean, I love student activity and student life. We had 172 students participate in fall athletics, had some very amazing team and individual accomplishments. And probably the thing that I'm most proud of, and I hope you're most proud of, is that almost 30% of those athletes got Scholar Athlete. Wow. So almost 30% of our entire fall athletes also hit that scholar mark, and I think that's something to be proud of. I know that band has been sounding amazing. If you were at any of the games or performances, they have just been knocking it out of the park. They recently just finished off their Dragon Spectacular, and at Band Festival they earned all ones, as they often do, because they sound that good. And I know that at the elementaries they're kicking off student life. I know that the Blueberry Ambassadors are getting ready to roll if they're not already rolling. And I know that the upper elementaries are looking at student council as well. So if you want to participate in something outside of the classroom, there are so many athletic, extracurricular, dramatic, musical, arts, different ways in which you can be involved. And that's not just at the high school level. That's K through 12. There are ways to be involved and have some fun out there.
That's right. If you don't know Jeremy Love with theater, you will absolutely love him as our facilitator. He does a wonderful job with bringing the arts alive through drama. When you're talking about the band, I had the opportunity to be the MC for a festival this year. Our band is absolutely outstanding. And if you were at that show, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I can tell you that I had an opportunity to play football in high school, football in college. I can remember our high school football team, and our team was very good. And we would be on the field, in the trenches, hearing our band play. And I can remember one of our leaders saying, "That's our band." And that's how we need to be about our band, guys. Our band is exceptional. They represent us well. They are a picture of perfection. And when they play, our football team, our spectators, that's our band. So congratulations to you guys for the excellence that you bring, and to all of our students and the clubs and the sports and the activities that you're in. We're very proud of you.
Absolutely.
And you're representing us well, so keep it up.
I did not play college football, Jim, but I currently outbench you on the bench press. So, we don't always get to be a college athlete, but sometimes, when you get near 50, you can do some pretty miraculous things, right?
I guess that's right. We're still pushing it. It's got to keep going, brother, for sure. All right, so our next topic that I'd like to talk about is one that's near and dear to my heart. It's probably the thing that I like most about being a deputy superintendent. I get to work with our MTSS team. That's our multi-tiered systems of support team. I believe that this is the most effective innovation that we have in our program. And basically, it's a system that's put in place to support students with academics and with behaviors, and it is K-12. So within our entire program, we meet and talk about what we can do to make the situation or the environment and the learning better for our students. With that, what I'd like to do is ask Rod, first off, like what would you like to share about our MTSS program so far this year?
Probably the first thing I'd like to share is that I'm very sad that I had to give it to you.
I can tell. It's still coming to all the meetings, and you haven't truly given it to me because you're still there all the time.
Well, it was my baby for a long time. I have a hard time letting it go as I transition into more fun superintendent duties.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think, it's always such an amazing group to bring together, people who are just geared up to take a look at our data. As we said earlier, we spend a lot of time looking at data, behavior data, and academic data, and really trying to figure out ways where we can improve. And the conversations about classroom life, engagement, questions, assessment, and ways in which we can improve those experiences for our kids are pretty deep and rich, and that has continued for 15, 16, 17 years. One thing that I tell that team all the time is, you know what, we can have a great conversation in these 3 hours. We can slap each other on the back. We can high five and we say, wow, look at how wonderful we are, and look at all this stuff that we look at and think about and talk about. But what matters most is when that team takes it back to the building and they share it with their teams and with their staff. And then from there, when the individual teachers take some of that knowledge, skills, and resources into the classroom. Mm-hmm. Because if we're not actually implementing at the classroom level some of these great ideas, then you're not going to see the improvement that we hope to see. The number one most important impact on student learning is a great teacher, and that's what we're here to do, is to help support our great teachers so that we can have some amazing learners.
That's well stated. And again, we just had our first meeting with our teams. Each building will send representatives, and we look at data, we talk, we plan as buildings and as a district, so that we are making progress toward our school improvement goals, which fall under the area of reading, informative assessment, trauma-informed care, and then collective efficacy, the idea of us saying we believe we can do it and then doing something about it. And so you might hear us reference achievement teams. That's one of our big focuses this year when we're talking about collective efficacy. Where buildings can individually make goals that impact their building. While we are one district, we all have different things that might impact the programming within our building. And our teams have the opportunity to look at that and address it as a building or as a grade level or even within the classroom. So it really is a great thing. And so to our MTSS team leaders, thank you very much for what you do, for your leadership, and to our awesome teachers and support staff, thank you for implementing the plan. And so now we're going to get into our final topic here, and it's very important because it's coming up here on Tuesday, and we need you. So I'm going to ask Rod to talk a little bit about our millage renewal.
Yeah, so hopefully we get this little video curated very quickly so that we can get it out to you, because Tuesday is the operating renewal, and it is just kind of the way schools do business. So every 10 years, on different schedules, every public school has to go to the public and just get that local source of income. So as most people know, you have two main sources of income. It's the local and it's the state. Before Proposal A, we were heavy on the local and light on the state. And then after Proposal A, we became heavy on the state and light on the local. However, the state still expects you to pick up your local share. So if for some reason a operating renewal didn't pass, they would then subtract the amount of money in their funding that they give to you. So the state right now gives us $9,600 per student, but if we didn't pass our renewal, which is hitting our budget at about $6.5 million a year, they would take out $6.5 million from Swartz Creek for the school year. So it is a huge, huge chunk. I think the two big key words in the operating renewal are renewal. Nothing is new here. It's an ongoing cost on how we operate the district. I think the other key word here is non-homestead. This does not affect you if you only have a single family household. This 18 mils only goes on non-homestead. And those are businesses, second house homes, vacation property, etc. So if you're just a single family occupant, it doesn't impact you negatively. It doesn't impact you positively, but it does impact us because it has to pass in order for us to keep moving forward, having our local income, which is about 20% in Swartz Creek, and to garner that $6.5 million a year, every year. So we would really, really appreciate it if you get out to the polls on Tuesday, and that would just continue to show the awesome support that we have always had in Swartz Creek.
All right. So thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen to this podcast. We are excited about this, and we're looking forward to future events where we're going to be highlighting students, highlighting teachers and support staff and administrators, an opportunity for us to connect with you on a regular basis. And as always, feel free, if we can be of any assistance, to email or call. We appreciate all that you do in supporting. And as always, go Dragons.
Hey, let me just throw in there, if you know any famous alumni who want to get on the podcast, we'd love to interview them. If you have any topics you'd like to hear about, we'd love to talk about them. Jim and I are going to get into some things like growth mindset, collective efficacy, and some of those education topics that we geek out about. Hopefully you'll enjoy those as well. And if we have the time, we'll try to do more than once a month, but we're going to try to at least kick one out once a month here for a while. Until we get our feet wet. Thank you so much for listening. Again, I hope you were listening and not watching. Thank you, Swartz Creek.